Austin 911.
We know how this call started. And we know how it ended. This was just a park near Dessau Road. Now it's a memorial for 17-year-old Anthoniel Williams II. Williams was fatally shot by police on July 24th at 4 a.m.
Justice for Anthoneil!
Justice for Anthoneil!
His death has sparked rage.
Watching the body-worn footage of this incident was deeply painful.
Tears. And questions. But how did we get here? What choices brought these 4 people to this park? And could it have been avoided? Just to let you know before we get started, this video does contain footage that some might find disturbing. Also, this is usually at the end of the video, but it's important, so we're going to start with it. If you or somebody that you know is struggling with mental health issues, there are resources available for you. You can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number at 988. We have other resources listed on our website. You matter, and help is available. Here's what we know about the events of July 24th.
Austin 911.
I'm looking out my window. There seems to be a kid. It looks like he has a gun. I'm not sure.
At 3:51 a.m., someone calls 911 reporting a teenager brandishing a gun at a park on Baden Lane. Police discover later that this caller is actually Williams. At 3:55, a security camera shows Williams walking to the park and waiting there. Police arrive at 4:01. They ask Williams to keep his hands up and if he's all right. Williams lifts his shirt, and at approximately 4:02 a.m., 3 officers fire over a dozen shots at Williams. Williams falls.
Hey, check yourself.
2 officers order Williams to stop moving and then fire several more rounds. Police don't find a weapon on Williams. He had a water bottle tucked into his waistband. At a press conference several hours later, Austin Police Chief Lisa Davis would describe the event as suicide by cop.
I think that the killing of Anthoneil is as tragic as it is predictable, frankly.
Michael Sierra Arevalo is an associate professor of sociology at the University of Texas and a member of the Austin Public Safety Commission. He researches police culture, training, and public safety. He says officers are trained in de-escalation tactics, but he says that's often superseded by another priority, officer safety. He says training plays a major role in how officers interact with people.
The number one lesson is that your number one job is to go home at night. And what I think ends up happening in practice is that this can short circuit a lot of the lessons that come with other kinds of training, things like crisis intervention training, things like de-escalation training, because rubber meets road. Police are unlikely to want to take chances and treat somebody not as a threat, because that decision can lead to them making the wrong bet.
We're wandering down a different path when we're asking about training.
Michael Bullock is the president of the Austin Police Association, and he says officers can only respond to the information that they're given.
Officers can't read someone's mind. They can have all the mental health training in the world, but at the end of the day, if the individual that's calling 911 is providing information and then the actions of an individual on scene match the information being provided, officers are forced into a situation that they did not create. And I think it's an unrealistic expectation to expect officers to be shot at or killed before they respond.
Austin police training has come under scrutiny in the past. Cadet classes were halted in 2020 after complaints of racism and bigotry within the department. City Council called for an audit of the department. In 2021, a panel of community members called for APD to remove 60 videos that they said perpetuated harmful stereotypes perpetuated against Black and Brown communities. Earlier this year, APD announced it was updating its use of force policies and requiring new de-escalation training. But Sierra Arevalo says the Safety Commission hasn't been shown updates on how training has changed, despite asking for them for years now.
We've been asking for essentially a spreadsheet of what are y'all doing? And I have yet to see it. I've never seen it. No one's ever seen it. And I think that if I haven't seen it, no one's seen it, because we're the ones asking for it. This, I think, is not something that is unique to Austin.
But Williams' case is a single incident. What does a broader look at officer-involved shootings reveal?
So this is our overview page, which is a good place to start.
That's what Crystal Kimbrough's team wanted to know. She's a policy compliance consultant for the Office of Police Oversight, and her team wanted to see what the data revealed about officer-involved shootings.
Our team wanted to be able to look at trends, even locations. There's a certain location that things are happening more often, but more importantly, demographics, who's being affected most. And if you hover over these things, it will show you.
This spring, they launched the Officer-Involved Shooting Dashboard. Currently, it includes data from 2018 to early 2026. In that time, there have been 61 OIS events. Kimbrough says that while it's hard to compare to other cities, that's average for a city of Austin's size. The data also shows that most OIS events have occurred in District 4. Baden Lane, where Williams was shot, was on the border of that district. Citywide, Hispanic men made up roughly 46% of all individuals in officer-involved shootings, while nearly 70% of officers involved were white and had been on the force for only 1 to 4 years. All 3 officers involved in Williams' case had been on the force for 3 years or less, according to APD.
That's a national trend, and there's many reasons for that. It can be that usually when they're released from the academy, they do go to higher activity areas. Also, their younger officers are usually the ones out on the streets. A lot of times older officers are detectives or have moved up in rank.
The dashboard also tracks another trend. About 30% of the incidents involve someone with a mental health emergency, according to APD's data. And that's what many say Williams' case comes down to, a mental health emergency. A 2018 report found that compared to 15 other cities, Austin had the highest per capita rate of fatal police shootings involving people believed to be experiencing a mental health crisis. In response, city leaders and APD changed policies around mental health calls.
And the goal is to really connect people to more appropriate behavioral health services and really divert police from having to go to those calls if they're not needed.
This is Melissa Malik, the Director of Crisis Services and Justice Initiatives at Integral Care. They provide mental health services in Central Texas, and for the past 12 years have been part of Austin's emergency mental health response work.
When someone calls 911, they get the call script of, are you calling for police, fire, EMS, or mental health services, which is a really innovative approach to ensuring that people get connected to the right care at the right time.
In recent years, Austin has expanded its emergency mental health services. Integral Care's Expanded Mobile Crisis Outreach Team, or MCOT, is now available 24/7 after increased city funding at the end of 2025. And a co-response unit that teams up with EMS services is also available. All of this comes as the need for mental health services is on the rise.
Across the nation, 1 in 5 people experience a mental health diagnosis, and 1 in 25 people experience a serious mental illness.
Social services starts well before 911 calls.
But community activists have stated that Austin's mental health safety net is not strong enough.
If we had more money into building a more robust mental health system, I think Anthoneil would have gotten that option as opposed to what he got on Friday at 4 a.m. If people think we have a robust mental health response system, please educate me. I'm saying we need an actual reliable mental health response system that does not, again, rely heavily on APD.
And Bullock says that burden often falls to police.
But there's not an alternative right now that really can deal with the volume of calls. We're supposed to have overnight teams that are available, but there is very limited staffing available through our mental health authority to try and divert these calls overnight and on patrol. And so officers are still the ones that wind up having to go to these calls.
This summer, city leaders were considering cutting about $5 million from social services out of the city's budget. Mental health programs were included on the chopping block, including one that provided free mental health care to Runberg families, an area designated by city leaders as a mental health care desert. Most of these cuts were avoided thanks to an unexpected influx of property tax money, but that was a one-time boost. It's unclear if these programs will be funded next year. But whatever the future is for mental health care programs in Austin, in the past, they weren't enough for Williams.
Austin 911, do you need police, fire, EMS, or mental health services?
When he called 911, he didn't ask for mental health assistance.
Police.
He asked for police.
The problem is that instead of Anthoneil having a better option at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, he got the option that we always have available. The one that is, they're coming with open arms, all right, but not the arms that we're talking about.
Anthoniel understands the score. He understands the equilibrium that we're currently in which if you call the police and tell them that somebody has a gun, they're gonna show up. I think that what I and others are interested in is trying to understand when and how different systems failed Anthoniel. Why was this kid alone, in distress? How might we have intervened before he thought the only way out was to call police to his location and then reach for his waistband? I think that I and others are interested in providing support through other mechanisms that might help us avoid Anthoniel ever making the call. Because right now, there are too many people making that kind of call to the police. I don't know if we're ever gonna get to 0 people making that call, but I think it's worth trying to get that number lower.
So we know how these 4 got here, but where do we all go afterwards? APD says they are investigating the incident and the officers involved are on leave, per department policy. Williams' case will be added to the dashboard when APD's internal investigation is finished.
Shame! Shame!
Activists have called for the officers involved to be prosecuted.
Change the trajectory of their lives. What we've seen in
The budget adopted by the city increases APD's budget, but carves 911 calls out of APD's management. A new Office of Joint Emergency Communications will answer calls and coordinate operations across agencies. But some aren't expecting answers from city leaders. Instead, they're looking towards each other for support.
Yeah, I just posted.
Shaka is the founder of DAWA, an organization that provides support to other nonprofits in Austin. Since April, they've been hosting grief counseling for people to process trauma.
I've lived a long enough time where I feel like the most important things that we need are actually like our own systems, our own infrastructure, so that when these things do happen, we have people ready to respond in terms of the healing aspect of it.
It's unclear if there will be enough social safety nets for Austinites in the future. Shaka believes those nets can be built with neighbors.
What's most important for us to do right now is to build a culture where more people care. We want to grow a space that is DAWA, where you have somewhere to turn. You have someone that understands you. You have someone that cares about you, that sees you. We still have to find a way.